President Donald Trump coming into his second term with an almost surprisingly interventionist approach to foreign policy, but at the same time, one that is based more on what we could call great power politics. So we see Donald Trump's administration very much focusing on countries who he views to be either great powers or regional powers, and really thinking that any small or middle powers don't need to be involved in political discussions. And that's what we're seeing with this sort of surprising move where we have negotiations taking, or at least discussions taking place between the US and Russia in Saudi Arabia, cutting out other key actors, most importantly, of course, Ukraine, key actor to the conflict from those discussions at this stage.
And it's kind of even more than just cutting them out. He's kind of treating them and talking about them with disdain. So he said today that the Ukrainians shouldn't have started the war in the first place. What do you make of that? And almost mocking them or criticising them for complaining about not being invited.
Yeah, absolutely. So we always knew that there would be a shift with the Trump administration from what the approach we'd seen from Joe Biden's administration. But I think this shift has been even greater, quicker and more pronounced than many analysts expected. So we're seeing Trump really talk quite warmly about President Putin, really wanting to bring President Putin out of that sort of pariah status that he's had since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in terms of diplomatic interactions and international affairs, really wanting to bring him back in, talking, about this good, strong, close relationship that they have. And then even more than that, as you mentioned, suggesting that possibly some kind of deal could be created between Russia and the United States regarding ending the war in Ukraine, which clearly is not going to be sustainable and is not going to be effective without Ukraine being involved and being a willing and key party to any sort of political agreement that might come out of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. So this is not good news for Ukraine, whichever way we look at it. I mean, I think now nobody is expecting Ukraine to be able to regain all of the territory that Russia has captured since that full-scale invasion in early 2022. The question now is how much territory does Ukraine essentially need to cede, whether it's de jure or de facto, but essentially need to cede to Russian control, and what else might they be able to get out of some kind of eventual political agreement? So importantly, will Ukraine be able to get some kind of clear security guarantees? So whether those are security agreements with European countries, whether it's with the United States itself, that is now, I think, going to be the focus for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and for the Ukrainian people. Can they actually get security guarantees to ensure that even if some of their territory now remains under Russian control, there won't be a further incursion of Russian troops into Ukraine in future? What will actually happen if Ukraine themselves just flatly refuses a proposed agreement? And I think in that case, what we're going to see happening is more of a frozen conflict situation where Russian troops won't be evicted from Ukrainian territory, but at the same time, there won't be any kind of formal agreement or formal ceasefire or peace deal. And that's quite a risky and a dangerous situation, because it means that where the line of control now stands between Russia and Ukraine will still be contested territory that could flare up again in future, even if we see this year some kind of cessation to the current ongoing conflict.